Okay, so let's jump right in. We are in the middle of this just wild boom in artificial intelligence. It really feels like we're watching history get written in real time. But this isn't just about cool new tech. This is a high-stakes, multi-front race, a flat-out race for dominance, for talent, and really a race to define what our future is going to look like.
And to really get a handle on the sheer speed of what's happening, this quote from Vint Cerf, one of the literal founders of the internet, it just nails it. He thought the internet was fast. And yeah, it was. But what we're seeing with AI, that is a whole other ballgame. The machines can outpace us. Just think about that for a second. That one idea is the key to understanding this entire revolution.
All right, first up, let's talk about something you're probably already feeling. This insane acceleration.
So, does it feel like everything is just speeding up? Like you blink and the world is already different? Well, you're not imagining it. The data is crystal clear. The answer is yes, it absolutely is.
And this chart? Wow. This just puts it all in perspective. So, to get to 100 million users, think about this. The telephone took decades. Instagram took over 2 years. TikTok, which we all thought was lightning fast, took 9 months. Then there's ChatGPT. 2 months. Just 2 months. That's not just a little faster. That's a completely different category of growth. It's playing a different sport entirely.
And it's not just a Silicon Valley thing either. It's global, right from day one. I mean, look at this comparison. 3 years in, the internet was still mostly a North American phenomenon, right? But the top AI app? In that same amount of time, 90% of its users were outside North America. So the takeaway here is huge. This thing didn't just slowly spread across the globe. Nope. It just, bam, exploded everywhere all at once.
Okay, so we've got the speed down. It's crazy fast. But why? What's the engine behind all this? Well, that brings us to the economics of intelligence. The entire AI race really boils down to this weird, fascinating economic puzzle. On one side, you have the cost to actually build one of these huge AI models. And that cost it's insane, and it's still going up. But then on the other side, the cost for you and me to use it, to get an answer from it, what they call inference, that cost is just dropping like a rock.
And when I say the training costs are high, I mean astronomical. Think about it. Back in 2018, a top model might have cost a few $100,000. Today, we're talking well over $100 million. And get this, the CEO of Anthropic thinks we're going to see $10 billion models very soon. That's the price you have to pay just to play the game at the highest level.
Okay, but remember the other side of that puzzle? While the building costs are going to the moon, the using costs are dropping through the floor. This is all thanks to incredible new chips, mostly from NVIDIA. The energy it takes to get an answer, to generate one little piece of text, has dropped by a factor of 105,000. That's in just 10 years. It's just getting unbelievably cheap to actually put these AIs to work for us.
So what happens when you have that dynamic? Super expensive to build, but super cheap to run? Well, you get what we're seeing right now, an all-out arms race for infrastructure. The 6 biggest US tech companies, they jacked up their spending by over 60% in just 1 year. We're talking $212 billion on data centers, on chips. The bet is simple. Whoever owns the pipes, whoever owns the hardware, wins. When you're throwing around that kind of money, you're bound to get some serious competition. And that brings us to our next part, this new global race.
I love this quote from Meta's CTO. He calls it our generation's space race. And he's right. The stakes are enormous, especially when you have players like China, who are, in his words, highly capable. The one thing nobody wants is to be left behind. That fear is driving everything. And yeah, this is not just talk. This isn't theory. Look at this. This shows the battle for desktop users. And China's top AI model, it's already snagged more than 20% of the market. That makes it a serious challenger to the big US names. This race is happening right now on our screens.
But it's not just a race between countries. It's also a race of ideas, a real philosophical battle. Right now, the big dogs, the closed secret sauce models from places like OpenAI and Google, they own the market, like over 90% of it. But there's this huge open source movement bubbling up, people fighting to make this technology available to everyone. It's a real David versus Goliath situation.
And then, of course, there's the race for actual users. How do you get 1 billion people using your stuff? Well, if you're a giant like Meta, you have a secret weapon. You don't have to convince anyone to download a new app. You just flip a switch. You bake your AI into Instagram, into WhatsApp, and boom,
almost 1 billion users, basically overnight. That right there is the power of having a massive built-in audience.
But it's not just the big guys playing the game. No way. You've got this new wave of challengers, these startups with absolutely insane funding. Companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, xAI, they're pulling in valuations that are just mind-boggling. And that money gives them the firepower to go toe-to-toe with the titans of tech.
All right, so we've got a massive, expensive, global race, which brings us to the billion-dollar question. Literally, who's actually making money off all this? Welcome to the monetization gold rush.
You know the old saying about a gold rush, right? Don't dig for gold, sell shovels. Well, in the AI gold rush, the shovels are computer chips, and the company selling them is NVIDIA. Just look at their revenue chart. See that vertical line going straight up? That's their data center business. They are printing money, selling the GPUs that make this whole thing possible.
Okay, so after the chip makers, who's next? It's the people who own the land, so to speak, the infrastructure providers. Not every company can build a giant data center, so they rent server time from specialists like CoreWeave. And their growth? 730% in 1 year. That just shows you how hungry the world is for this kind of computing power.
And the last piece of the picks and shovels puzzle? Data. AI models are useless without tons of clean, labeled data to learn from. So companies that do that work, like Scale AI, are also booming. Their revenue growth is just off the charts. So it's pretty clear, right? The first big winners are the enablers, the chips, the cloud, and the data.
But what about the companies actually building the AI? The ones at the center of all the hype? This is where it gets really interesting. Take OpenAI. Their revenue is going through the roof, right? But look at their costs, specifically what they spend on computing. It's almost as high as their revenue. And that's the core problem they have to solve. How do you make a profit when you have to spend $1 just to make $1? The math is brutal.
And when you zoom out past all the money in the competition, you realize what the real stakes are. Stephen Hawking put it best. Getting AI right could be the single biggest thing that ever happens to us, the best thing in our history. But he also warned it could be the last, unless we figure out how to manage the risks. The stakes could not possibly be higher.
So what we have here is a historic race. It's moving at a speed we've never seen before, it's driven by some really strange economics, and it's playing out on a global stage. The race is on, no doubt about it. But the final question is, when the music stops and the dust finally settles, who's actually going to be left standing?